And if we're ready for recording, thank you. We'll start with the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we could have roll call, please.
Mayor Smith,
Here.
Trustee Schwartz,
Here.
Trustee Valentine,
Here.
Trustee Check,
Here.
Trustee Heck, Trustee Hunter. Here. I gotta change that. Trustee Stelter.
Here.
All right, you have a forum.
Thank you. Could I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
All right, no discussion? Anybody need any changes or anything? Yes, and I see Clerk Better.
Yeah, let me look at the one, but there was one that we had.
Issue 7. Agenda item 7.
Yes, number 7, if you guys could remove that, please. It's not ready.
Do you want us to just decide when we get there and have a motion to table it? Or do you want it to be changed right now?
If you could change it right now, that'd be better, just in case, something comes up.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor to accept the agenda. Can we amend that motion? Oh, it's been seconded. Do we need to withdraw the motion?
Withdraw.
Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm withdrawing my motion.
Okay, so would you like to make a motion with recommending that item number?
Yes, I move to approve the agenda with the exception of we will remove item 7, consideration of adopting resolution 12-2025 board rules of procedure.
Second.
I'll second that.
Second. Sorry.
Moving seconds, we have
Give
a
it to
second.
him.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Announcements, at this point, we only have appreciations as far as I know, unless anyone else on the board has an announcement. Seeing none, Trustee Schwartz?
Okay, so first we have community announcements. The West Elk Family Church is inviting everyone to a community cleanup this Saturday from 10 to 12 to pick up trash, and everyone is welcome to come. That's the church out on 133 across from the gas station.
Do you know where the trash is going to be?
I don't
Just going to
know.
meet there.
That's what
Okay.
we need. Yep. And then also, if you want to, Jumbo is now reopened. So the Paonia Single Track Society is hosting a community picnic this Saturday at 4 p.m. at Apple Valley. So those are the 2 announcements. And then for community appreciations, these come from around the community. My kids loved the Easter egg hunt in Town Park. Thank you for everyone who donated and participated, and a special thanks to Amber for organizing it. A teacher reported that the PK8 school just installed a Gaga ball, which I was like, what's a Gaga ball? It's like new school dodgeball. And the PTO fundraised for it, and a local dad installed it over break. And she told me that the kids were just loving it. They were outside today playing this game of Gaga ball. A huge shout out to Cause and Kimber, and these are quotes from the person, for helping find the forever home for a limpy, no-tail singing Manx cat. This cat brings me so much joy. The Paonia Fashion Show was epic. Wow. Thanks to everyone who designed, sewed, danced, sang, painted, participated, and shared their talents. Paonia never ceases to amaze me, and thanks to the Learning Council for sponsoring it. This is personally a highlight from my Sunday morning Easter walk. Was talking to a dad who was rehiding the eggs from the Easter bunny for his son on a gorgeous Sunday morning, and he was as excited as his kid was. And then finally, Western Slope Conservation Center organized a Paonia River Park cleanup today to celebrate Earth Day. 18 people participated, and they got so much done. WSCC also wanted to thank the town for rearranging some large rocks around the grassy knoll to keep people from driving on it, and they just wanted to send a huge appreciation. So that's what we have for our community appreciations today.
Thank you. So with that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. There are 3 sets of minutes to be approved, March 25th, April 1st, and April 8th, and disbursements. And yes.
Sorry, you
Yeah.
skipped public comments.
Oh, see, this, having a new fund just threw me off. Anyway, so sorry.
Good job.
So we had this, at this part of the agenda, anyone in the audience or on Zoom who would like to make a public comment no longer than 30 minutes, this is the time to do it. It can't be on anything that's already on the agenda. So if anybody has a burning desire or comment on anything not on the agenda, I would just ask that you raise your hand. I'll call you, come up to the podium, give us your name and whether you live in town or out of town. And there is a sign-up sheet, so you can actually put your address on there with your full name. I'm assuming the sheet's there. Okay, good. So I'll first ask anybody in the audience if they have anything they'd like to speak on for 3 minutes. Okay. Seeing none, anyone on Zoom?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. All right, sorry for skipping, but glad nobody had it. Anything, next time. So, with that, we will move on to the consent agenda with 3 different sets of meeting minutes. And we have no license renewals, correct? And disbursements. So, any comments on any of the content? Yes, Trustee Schwartz.
So this is for Town Clerk Better, the April 1st minutes. There was some, this is so minor, but you're calling me Trustee Schwartz and Mayor Pro Tem Valentine. So if you don't mind switching those.
I will. Sorry about that. The templates are set up in each of the different types of meetings and we use that one so rarely. I think I didn't update it. My apologies.
Yep, no worries at all. Thank you.
And that is just that one. Anybody else? Seeing no other comments or questions, anything on disbursements? Okay, Trustee Schwartz.
Okay, since I didn't do them this time, I paid a lot of attention. I did notice at Reedy's, we did not have any police fuel, which seemed unusual to me. Was that discussed at all?
Yeah, there was no, it was all public works. Wasn't it?
Okay, maybe we'll see it next month or next.
Yeah, because it seemed like, right, I'm looking at Sam, because we did it. And,
I don't see any Reedy's bills on this.
Oh, it's
North
under
Fork.
North Fork Service.
let me just scroll to that.
I know we commented on it, but I don't think we ever
Yeah,
followed up on it.
right, there was no, that's probably an oversight, maybe on the police department, they might show up at the next.
Okay, we'll keep an eye out for
Yeah.
that.
Any other questions on it?
Mhm.
Okay, anyone else with any questions on disbursements? Okay, with that, would somebody like to make a motion to accept the consent agenda with the proposed change to the April 1st minutes?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the aforementioned corrections.
Second.
Sounds like I got that motion. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Right, thank you. And we'll move on to departmental school.
It's been updated. If you guys have specific questions, there's a lot on there. There is one thing that we talked about during our department head meeting today. We're going to add a park section to the departmental scorecard. Because we have a number of projects going on. We've got trees coming down, dead rotting trees that need to come down. With approvals from CPW to take them down. Public Works isn't even here. And then we're also in the middle of our bathroom remodel, so, and we've got an electrical project going on as well. So those things will get added to the departmental scorecard. Everything else has been updated to keep track of all of our projects.
Questions? Trustee Schwartz.
Or town clerk.
Go ahead, Clerk Better.
I was just gonna say, I know you guys all noticed that we're using the new agenda management software. Ruben and I will be scheduling a couple of work sessions here in the next few weeks to walk you through how to get in and all the cool stuff you guys get to do now. So you might keep an eye out for that. We'll do one work session during the day, primarily for staff, but if it's easier for any of you to attend, then you can. And then we'll pull for one in the evening too, so we can walk you through it. It's a really cool program. It's very easy to use. And I think you guys are really gonna like it, so.
I mean, there's a lot here on this department, so we're doing a lot, but I do want to give an update on our CDOT Safe Pathways for Paonia, the Safe Routes to School program. We were approved for $872,825 from the CDOT's Transportation Commission. We'll get our official award probably later this week or next week. But that means that we have grant funding of up to $1.9 million for the Fifth and Grand realignment project. It's huge.
Yes. Thank you. It's great news. Trustee Schwartz.
Okay, I have a few things. if you don't
Sure.
mind. Well, one, this morning I ran into Matt Taylor and he showed me pictures of the bathroom remodel that's happening at Town Park. You all know I've been very excited about this, and seeing the pictures, it looks phenomenal and it looks heavy duty, but also really professional. So that was exciting to see. But I have a question about the Safe Pathways to Schools. And there's a rumor going around, and I think it's worth just mentioning that that Grand Avenue, that part of Grand Avenue out to 133 will be closed for months. And I was like, I don't think that's the case, but I thought it would be worth.
Yes, we're gonna know. And we're bringing in stoplights. No, we're not doing that. So, because that was another one that like, we're not doing that. What we're doing, so there'll always be one lane open. And then at night, they'll open up 2 lanes. So there'll always be traffic that's able to flow. That's part of the reason why the cost went up so much. Those stoplights are really cheap. Having flaggers is not so cheap. But we would rather have flaggers there while construction is going on. And that's all part of our maintenance of traffic plan. So yeah, it's going to cause some disruption for like buses at school. Those are things that the police department is coordinating with the school system. But yes, the other rumor was there were stoplights.
Okay, and then my other question, and do we have anyone from Public Works on, or maybe you know this? How are we doing getting the aerators at the wastewater treatment plant?
I can give you an update from where we are on the paperwork side. So we've had to submit that to CDPHE for their approval. That permit is done. That application has been turned in. They're reviewing it. We've paid for it. And we're just waiting now for their final approval. Once we get it, we're going to put them in. So.
Any other questions from you? I have a question. So what is a vape disposal initiative? Tell me about that.
Well, we went through this whole process to figure out where we wanted a vape disposal. Yeah, they're dangerous, right? So the lithium batteries, they have a tendency to overheat and explode, cause fires. So a safe place to dispose of them. And the county just asked if we knew where we wanted to put something, or if we wanted one. We thought, we'll figure out a place. When we told them, yes, we want one, they had already determined a site. It's at the library. So we're going to have one at the library.
Meaning that somebody can just pop it in there and then it's emptied so often?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's a part of the Cleaner Delta Counties initiative, just because it's a big problem right now. And I told her we were especially interested since we had not long ago had an incident with an e-bike battery. So we understood exactly what kind of damage those lithium batteries could do. So
Thank you. I had no idea.
Is this only for batteries?
It's only for vapes.
thanks.
So when it's empty, you throw it away, you can't refill them?
I don't know.
Some you can, but a lot of them are disposable, and disposable ones you think would be safe to throw away, but they're not.
Okay.
They have the
Thank
same
you.
dangers, so.
That's an education. I did not know that. Thank you.
But we went through a process of site selection only from the sale. Oh, you want one too, by the way.
Okay.
I was like, we want two, we want one here and one here, and they're like, yay, we're so excited, we're gonna put it in the library. He's like, okay, we want one.
All right, at the library it is, I'm assuming where it's visible, so people will see
It's
where it is.
gonna be on the same thing where they have a Narcan thing right now,
Okay,
so, but that, it'll be right there. Same spot.
thank you. Stuff I had no idea about, cool. And that's all the questions I had. Generate any other questions amongst anybody on Zoom? No, hearing nobody, okay. We will move on to actions and presentations, and again, we will take public comment on the items that are on the agenda, and again, it's a 3-minute limit. Same thing, come up, raise your hand, I'll recognize you, come up, give us your name and whether you're in town or out of town, and then fill the sign-up sheet. So with that, we're going to start with a hearing. We have a need to consider a request for approval of a major subdivision application from David Warren and Dan Rubinoff for Lot 2 of Clark's End subdivision. So I have a script to read.
And to clarify, public comment for this, for the public hearing
Yes.
is 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Yep. I will now open the public hearing on the application submitted by David Warren and Dan Rubinoff for Lot 2 Clark's, major subdivision application at Lot 2 of Clark's End subdivision. And, let's see. The purpose of the hearing is to provide a public forum for all interested parties who wish to comment on these applications before the board. The procedure for the public hearing will be as follows. First, we will have a presentation by town staff. Next, there will be a 5-minute presentation by the applicant who is here, right? Yeah, great. After these 2 presentations, we will allow members of the public to speak up to 5 minutes. All testimony must be presented at the lectern after you give your full name and address, and I swear you in. Please do not repeat points made by others, but it is fine to say that you agree or disagree with a comment previously made. Please direct all of your comments to the board and not to town staff or the applicant. After receiving public comments, we will allow the applicant and town staff an opportunity to respond and answer any questions raised by the public comments. I will then turn the matter over to the board, and the trustees may ask questions of anyone who testify. We generally will not ask questions during the presentations. Finally, I will close the public hearing, and the board will discuss the matter and may take some kind of action. Once the public hearing has closed, no further comment from the applicant or the public will be taken. However, the board may ask for advice from the town attorney. And public hearings are recorded for the public record. To begin, do we have proper notification?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we do.
Thank you. Do any trustees have any disclosures or conflict of interest associated with this application? Okay, seeing none, and
Just a
trustee,
little thing, my wife was on the board that originally approved it, way back when. You're from, does she have a financial interest in the property? I've heard a lot about it.
and I'm assuming trustees Hunter and Valentine, you have no conflicts?
No, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
No.
Would the town administrator please present the staff presentation?
Sure. So this is a major subdivision, simply because it doesn't meet the definition of a minor subdivision. Both the applicants, applicant David Warren submitted an affidavit from Dan Rubinoff that gave him permission to do this on his behalf. But the reason it doesn't meet a minor subdivision is the definition of minor subdivision means the division of land that meets at least one of the following conditions. The division of a parcel of land into 3 lots or less. A parcel of land may only be subdivided once into 3 lots or less under the minor subdivision procedures once. That's how we got to where the piece of property as it exists stands. So because of that, this has to go to a major subdivision. It keeps going. It says any subsequent subdivision except for subparagraph B below must follow the procedures for a major subdivision. Well, this is creating a new lot, so it has to go through a major subdivision process. The Planning Commission has already heard this and has given a favorable recommendation. So lots 2 of Clark's End major subdivision is approximately a third of an acre, includes 2 town water taps, 2 town sewer taps. That evidence is attached as attachment A. The reason for splitting this property is to create 2 separate lots. Lot 2A will be approximately 7,458.8 square feet, and Lot 2B will be approximately 7,312.6 square feet. Lot is zoned R2, and this application does not contemplate nor give permission to change the current zoning. Although we went over this at the Planning Commission, there was an update to the zoning or a proposed update that never got made with a previous board decision. And so it is still sitting as R2, even though our current zoning map shows it as R1. It never got changed. Although section 16.330 schedule of requirements, residential districts allows for up to 2 dwellings by right within R2 minimum density residential districts. It also has a minimum lot area of 8,000 square feet that is also required to have 2 dwellings for 1 lot. The original lot, Clark's End Lot 2, was large enough for 2 dwellings on 1 lot. However, splitting the 2 lots makes each lot less than 8,000 square foot, but larger than the required 6,000 square foot to have 1 dwelling for each lot. Due to the size of the lot splits, only 1 dwelling unit is allowed for each of the newly created lots. Section 16.330 is attached also to the staff report. The original subdivision for Clark's End included a completion of all of the required guidelines. So all of the infrastructure improvements, all of the drainage requirements, all of the utility easements, they're already there. Pipes are already in place, fire hydrants are there, the cul-de-sac is built, there are sidewalks. All we're doing is subdividing this lot into 1 additional lot, but you still have to go through the major subdivision process by our code. Fire protection will be provided by the Paonia Volunteer Fire Department. As I explained earlier, there is a fire hydrant located on the northwest corner of the lot, of the existing Lot 2. Clark Avenue will be used for emergency access. The current property is already equipped with water, sewer, and electricity. No changes or additions will be required other than connecting the mentioned utilities once the structure has been built and then through the normal building permit application process. The property will be used for residential use only, not commercial. Each lot will have a traffic flow consistent with a single-family home. Traffic will use Clark's Avenue to access properties. 10 of the surrounding that needs to be updated. 12 of the surrounding neighbors have provided letters of support for this request. Consideration of the elements within the comprehensive plan support the division application. Specifically, they are land use development number 6, promote infill construction within the town limits while considering density, zoning, and compatibility of surrounding land uses. LUD 7, promote infill construction within the town limits in order to capitalize on proximity to existing utilities. LUD 19, transition residential densities from higher within town limits to lower outside the town limits. LUD 21, higher density residential development defined as including up to 4 dwelling units per acre should be encouraged in, adjacent to, and close to town in order to minimize impacts on utilities and traffic, enhance downtown business opportunities, retain the pedestrian atmosphere of the community. Housing number 7, and encourage the development of a variety of residential products and or densities, thereby expanding the opportunity of choice in housing product types while minimizing public investment, capital expenditure for infrastructure. H10, encourage the development of residential environments which are sensitive to noise, traffic, and established public facilities, and which will complement the area's terrain, vegetation, and other natural resources. H11, facilitate and encourage new housing development consistent with the specific needs and goals of the community. There are some required findings that you would need to consider this subdivision. That shouldn't say rezoning, it should be a subdivision. Section 17.520 of the town's code establishes procedures for subdivision preliminary plat requirements. And those requirements are shown on the preliminary plat. Planning Commission, you guys weren't on it, so I'd like to send it over here. But this is what we're looking at. So as of right now, this is 1 single lot. We're splitting it into 2. The proposals to split it into 2. These are already existing. This infrastructure is already existing. The connection for the water meter will be from this location and then down here. Sewer can also tie into each location. There's a fire hydrant up here. And you can already see there's easement, utility easements, setbacks all across the properties. So this has already, they have met all of their requirements. The other things that are required are the certificate of dedication and ownership, signature blocks, who's actually doing it, it's Wilmar and Company, the name of the new subdivision. So it's becoming it's going from Clark's End to West Elks Major Subdivision. It has to be a unique name within Delaware County that's unique. And then a legend with a north arrow. So all of that is on this document.
Is that the extent of your report?
Oh, I'm not done yet.
Oh, sorry. Jumping ahead.
Yeah, sorry. There were some things that weren't required because they're already there, they're already existing. So a drainage plan doesn't need to be included. It's already on this, it has already been done. You'll see it there with elevation marks. You can see kind of where water's expected to run. It's expected to run down cars into our storm system. Okay, the important part. Right? Staff recommends approval of the major subdivision and bases the recommendation on the information given by the applicant. The applicant's plan conforms to the major subdivision section of the Paonia Municipal Code, and it substantially conforms to the 1996 Comprehensive Master Plan. Further conditions are recommended to restrict the 2 new parcels to 1 dwelling unit for each new lot due to the reduction in size created through the subdivision. This potential motion that was given was also the recommendation from the Planning Commission in its entirety. So that's what's before you today. Both police department and public works said they have no issues.
Thank you. Right.
That's it.
Okay. Now, if we could have the applicant presentation, would the applicant please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and take the oath.
My name is David Warren. I live at 40760 German Creek Lane in Paonia.
And do you swear to tell the truth in this matter?
I do.
Thank you. Please make your presentation.
Well, Stephanie's presentation is really thorough and pretty much covered all the points I was going to make. So just to summarize, we're not asking for anything more than what's already allowed for the property. With the R2 zoning, 2 homes shall have to be built. We're simply asking to divide our property into 2 separate lots so we can each build a home. The other thing that was important that Stephanie brought up was that only 1 home could ever be built on each lot, regardless of the R2 zoning, since the lot sizes wouldn't meet the town's minimum requirements for a second home. And in your package, you'll find 12 letters of support from our neighbors on Clark and Carl Avenues. And please refer to the map which shows locations of these neighbors in relation to our property, which is highlighted in yellow. In addition, we've numbered each letter with the corresponding number of each property owner's lot location on the map. These neighbors all support our request primarily because a lot split won't have any additional impacts to the neighborhood. Thanks for your consideration. Appreciate it.
I will now open it up to public comment. And if anyone would like to speak on this application, please raise your hand and I'll recognize you and have you go up to the podium. Anyone from the public care to speak? See no hands in the town hall. Is there anyone on Zoom who wanted to speak? Okay, thank you. So given that there was no public comment, the next thing is applicant staff rebuttal. Does the applicant wish to offer further comment? Any further from town staff?
No.
Seeing none, I will now close the public comment portion of the public hearing. Before we turn to trustee questions and deliberation, I want to state that the documents included as part of the record for this public hearing include all application materials submitted by the applicant, all materials included in the packets, all written referral and public comments received regarding the application, the notice of hearings, and the town's ordinances. Does anyone have any objection to the inclusion of these items in the record? Okay, seeing no objections. Now is the time for questions from the trustees. Anyone have questions for staff or the applicant? No, okay. Trustees Hunter or Valentine, any questions?
No, Madam Mayor.
No, thank you, though.
Okay. Hearing none, I will now close the public hearing and turn the matter over to the board for consideration of the resolution listed on the agenda. Well, in this case, for consideration of the application being submitted. So, anybody have any comments? Questions? Trustee Schwartz?
My comment is this is a really straightforward, it meets all, like, it's just super straightforward. I don't have any objection to it, and I think this is, we should just make the motion to recommend the application.
Any comments to that? Otherwise, I'll ask if someone would like to make that motion.
It's only taken 25 years, but I'll second it.
There's no motion yet.
So wasn't that motion? So if you do a motion, it would be to approve the planning commission recommended to you as the authority.
Oh, it could be as simple as that.
I would include the additional information though, since it was a quasi judicial hearing, there was certain criteria that we had to meet. So if there is a motion, it would be, I move to approve the application for subdivision.
Mr. Schwartz, do you have that in front? So not all of number one needs to be reiterated.
Just change recommend to approve, and then the last and also can go away.
I move to approve the application for subdivision of the property commonly known as TBD Clark Avenue, Paonia, Colorado, 81428, now known as West Elks, a major subdivision, because it does not adversely affect the public health, safety, and welfare of the existing residential neighborhood, that the subdivision substantially conforms to the comprehensive master plan and promotes infill construction within town limits while considering density, zoning, and compatibility of surrounding land uses. With the following conditions, the applicant may only build one dwelling unit for each of the new lots, and also period.
I can second it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. None opposed, correct? Okay. That passes unanimously. Congratulations. We'll do signatures now. Signatures at the end, can you? Does the plat have to be signed by me?
Yeah, there's gonna have to be a bunch of signatures collected because we need them from the planning commissions.
Okay. Okay, so we will not worry about that at this moment.
Yeah.
Okay, but we'll leave this with us. The plat will stay with us. Okay. All right. Item number one on actions and presentations is the special event permit 25-01 for the Arbo Farmers Market. And I'm going to turn that over to Clerk Vetter, as I guess. Yes.
We're both dodging the other way. So as you see before you, it's that time of year again for Arbel's Farmer Market. Staff had a couple of requests this year based on past years. I put them in here. Since it's a long running event, we'd like to have 3 meetings. One is a pre-event meeting, one midway, and also right before our July season kicks off in the park, just so we all know what to expect and we can make sure that there's no issues there, and then a debriefing at the end so we can actually talk about how everything went and whether we're going to change things moving forward. And then to request the final vendors list every week instead of at the end of the event. And Marion and I have spoken about that, and she's already agreeable to it. And we already preliminary have a meeting for Friday if this should be approved. I and her will sit down and work out all the stuff that's left if you guys decide to approve it. So, but I know she has a presentation for you, so that's probably more enjoyable.
Unless anybody has any questions, I'll ask you to come up and give your presentation.
Are you kicking me off?
Yep.
God.
Say your name. Oh, I'm Marion. Marion. Madonna. Oh, great.
You just click on the screen, it'll go away. Does for me.
Well, if I can just interject something here. So we have a birthday tonight and we're gonna have some cake tonight. So I just want those of you waiting to get to the very first parts of the agenda, that I was gonna ask for us to have a break after the tree board person is approved. And so everybody can eat cake. So if you want to stay, they have cake and chocolate, homemade. And it's his birthday. It's Trustee Heck's birthday. I have to tell you, it is not gluten-free and it has eggs and butter and sugar and anyway. But if you all would like to stay after you give your presentations as the agenda is, please stay. And I'll ask somebody to give us a time to break. Anyway, go ahead now. If you're ready, if you've got your.
That's just.
Hi, everyone. My name's Marion. I'm the manager of the Arbor Farmers Market, and I'm here today to request a special events permit for the farmers market and to seek sponsorship support from the town. Next slide, please. As you may already know, the Arbor Farmers Market is a 23-week market that runs from May to October in Paonia Town Park. Since 2021, our market has connected local food to local people and supported our Valley's farmers. I'm here to talk about why the market matters and how the town might support it. Before I move forward, I just want to say I'm aware that the town has an ad hoc special events committee that is currently evaluating how it interacts with special events like ours, and that the Learning Council has contributed to these discussions as a community advocate. I appreciate the process and I'm happy to revisit our request once decisions have been finalized. Next slide, please. The market is more than just a place where people shop. This is a quote from Jeff Wagner, who's a farmer in Paonia. I actually worked for him last season. It reads, "It feels like the whole town comes out to support our farmers. For us, the Arbor Market is more than just a place to turn a profit on vegetables. It's where we catch up with our friends, listen to local musicians, talk about the successes and challenges of the season with other farmers, and do business with local chefs and local restaurants. This market is truly one of a kind." I asked some folks why they shop at the farmers market this March, and it's a place where people regularly access groceries. It's a place where they get the freshest and tastiest foods from the valley, where they can keep money circulating in our community, and where they can connect with farmers and friends. Next slide, please. Like Bill and Tony. Next slide, please. In 2024 alone, we supported over 25 local businesses, 12 of which were farms from the valley. We generated over $150,000 in local sales, nearly 19,000 of which were in SNAP and Double Up Food Buck sales. We also contributed nearly $9,000 in taxes to the city and state collectively. Our market is a driver of economic development in our community. Slide, please. Our market regularly attracts over 200 people in Paonia Town Park every week, locals and tourists alike. We've heard people travel from over an hour away just to shop at our market every week. We offer free live music from local musicians every week. Next slide, please. Agricultural demos from community educators throughout the season. And the Learning Council has served thousands of community meals. So it's a place to eat, it's a place to celebrate, to learn, and to celebrate a community. In previous years, we've been able to operate thanks to federal funds and generous donors. And this year, we respectfully request the town's support in two ways. One, waiving our daily space of additional vendor fees, and two, a $5,000 cash donation to help cover operational expenses. In return, we recognize the town's support in the following ways. And if full support is not available at this time, any amount of support would be greatly appreciated. Next slide. Yeah, by sponsoring the farmers market, you can help us further our shared vision of a resilient, regenerative, and mobilized economy. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, let's see, Clerk Better, is there anything you want to highlight in the application? Anything different, anything we should know about?
No, just our request for the extra meetings, because I think what we've determined is that anything was an issue is something that could very easily be taken care of with communication, and we've already had quite a bit of good communication about this, and I don't know of any major issues outside of it, just small ones that can easily be taken care of in planning. So, and I'm sure there's probably some from their side to us that they'd like us to do better as well, but I think we'll be fine. And I don't remember anything different in the thing other than the fact that I haven't collected any fees yet or anything like that, so that'll be all digital time.
Thank you. Questions from the trustees for Sam or Marion? Mr. Schwartz?
I just have a question. It seems to me like we've never charged anything for Arbor Market. Is that correct? Okay, perfect.
No, I mean, I believe we have charged.
Oh, we have.
Like, for the last 2 years.
Okay.
We have to confirm it, but I'm fairly positive that the only things we waived before were the legacy events, and this was not one of them.
Okay, thanks.
We paid every year.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yes, trustee Stein.
I just have a comment that half of the time this goes on, I'm stuck in meetings here and I can't attend. It irritates me. So
We'll have to work on that.
maybe I can get the town to change the day.
So, I'll open it up to the public to come up and make any comment that you would like. You have 3 minutes. If anyone would like to come up, just raise your hand and then I'll offer it to anybody on Zoom. Anybody from the public that would like to comment? Seeing none, any other questions? So at this point, what's the decision that needs to be made tonight?
Whether or not you're gonna answer their sponsorship request, and then whether it's okay for us to move ahead with the special event permit.
Well, it sounded like Marion made a really good suggestion, which was, we have an ad hoc committee working on park events, and I'm not on it. Is there good reason to wait until the committee has come up with some suggestions before the trustees decide whether to sponsor?
I don't think we're ready yet to give any sort of like direction. But we are starting to identify what we call legacy events, where we have historically waived those fees. And then we did find, there's just not an update on that yet, so.
Well, and my question is it better for the trustees to wait to see the outcome of that committee before making a decision tonight about?
There is no way we're gonna be ready to have a decision before they open up, so.
Well,
We need to make a decision. I don't want them to wait until like August before we decide if we're charging them or not, like.
well,
doesn't
that's why I'm
seem fair.
asking, is what
Yeah.
is the timing? And,
We're trying to have something by charity days, but we're talking code revisions, things like that need to be done as well.
okay. Okay. And
I was just gonna say, that's one of the reasons why I took care to do this exactly the way we've done it so far, with the exception of collecting the fees up front. And Marion and I also talked about the fact that this ad hoc committee was going, so she's well aware of it and, knows that there could be some changes or however it is, and they're willing to work with us on that, so. So we've had full disclosure is one point.
So I guess I'll keep asking the question. So two things, you all charge for your booths, because I wanted the trustees to be aware that's in here, what the rules are for people to be vendors. So there is a charge of, I think it's what,
$230 per season,
$230 for season.
or equivalent in-kind donation.
Okay, and then they also have a sponsorship level too, that's also included in the packet. I just thought it'd be important for all the trustees to see that as well. And that's on page, can't see, just computer's messing up. Anyway, I just wanted the trustees to be aware of that. What the sponsorship level is that they asked for. Okay. Trustee Short.
Yeah, I 100% recommend that we waive the $2,300 and $2,350 for park rental and banner permits, and then any fees with the cones and the barricades. Like this to me, like I really appreciated the numbers that you had. Like this is great. This is supporting our farmers. It's giving people a chance to buy local produce. It's reasonable, the community meals. It really, truly is a community event, and it takes a lot to organize. And in my mind, this is exactly the type of event that town should be sponsoring.
Yes, trustee.
Instead of doing it free, charging $1, that way we don't have to change an ordinance.
I'd be open
That
to
gets
that.
gets us out of a lot of work.
I don't know anything about what the ordinance says, so I don't know if that's.
That would get us out of the ordinance, wouldn't it, of changing the ordinance? No, we just lowered the rent.
Our code says, there's this in multiple locations, there are ways that fees are decided for special events. And we consolidated all of those fees into one resolution at the end of 2023. So it's easier to find what those fees would be. And they're coming from multiple sections of code to arrive at that $2,350 amount. Oh, but that's through the entire season. That's not an every week cost, that's the entire season.
Maybe we'd have to up it to $1 a week.
Well, but the board, I think, always has the right to waive fees like we've done in the past. So I don't think we need to change any code for this. You're just talking about for legacy, like whatever the committee comes up with, then something may have to be changed.
I think the ordinances are the ordinances.
I would suggest, I think everybody should look at page 90 of the packet, just because that's where the pricing is for the park. And that's coming by resolution.
So these fees are made because we have, if there's garbage collection, we've got tipping fees associated with that, with collecting all the garbage and getting it to the landfill. There's fuel costs associated with it. I'm going to have to staff somebody to pick up that garbage. There's also a request in here to have the bathrooms that are being remodeled open, which presents a little bit of a challenge for personnel, because we'll have to have somebody lock them at the end of the night, clean them. But that's normal kind of operation stuff.
Trustee Chick?
Yeah, I also really appreciate the Argo Farmers Market. But I agree with trustee Heck that we can't just start waiving all the fees.
We're headed for a headache.
So I think that we could maybe cut them in half or something, or donate half the fee to the Argo Farms as part of our contribution of the town towards the farmers market.
I'm going to ask trustees Hunter or Valentine. If either of you have anything you'd like to say?
Madam
No.
Mayor, I would like to say that I am definitely in favor of approving a special event permit. However, I'm not in favor of waiving any fees.
Thank you.
Trustee Valentine?
Yeah, I'd say the same thing.
Okay, thank you. And follow-ups to that?
And I concur, we incur costs with this every time. We can't leave trash on the trash truck. It has to be hauled, and sometimes, I know it's only what, 3 dumpsters?
I think that's what was in the.
3 dumpsters, but 3 dumpsters, we're talking 4.5 yards. Our garbage truck is a 20-yard truck, I believe. So it's a significant portion, so it may mean another trip to the dump for us. And, you know, that's a 4-hour trip for our driver, and then the helpers have to find something to do while he's gone on that trip. And that's a fairly complex and expensive thing for us. I would be in favor of sponsoring the banner. That's a wonderful thing. I am fully in support of the farmer's market. I shop there. I like the farmer's market, but as a trustee, I can't give away the public's money, basically. And we have costs that we have to cover.
Yes, trustee Schwartz?
I would just like to respond to trustee Stelter. If you've, having been there, there's no way they're filling up 3 dumpsters of trash. I mean, they are so trash minded with these things. So I think that might be a little bit of an overstatement that we're gonna have to do a separate dump run every week after the farmer's market, because they're about conservation and reuse, and so many people bring their own things. So I understand where you're coming from, but I think that point might be overstated.
So I would like to ask, since trustee Vetter, you've been talking to Public Works, can you give us an idea of how much trash has to be dumped every week from the park? You know, I mean, we're speculating. We just don't know.
I don't, but I do know just from past stuff, I mean, I can say pretty confidently that for the size of gathering that they have, they don't generate as much trash as maybe some of our other festivals do. I think a lot of what Public Works talked about is we're going into our really high traffic season. That's one of the reasons why I'm going to make sure to have the meeting before July, because they have to spend a lot of extra time and at some odd hours trying to keep everything alive during our 2 big festivals. And so this does add more traffic. I know that's one of the concerned traffic, like people on the grass and stuff. And I mean, there are some considerations with it, but I don't remember trash being a huge one. They do generate some, but it's not a gigantic amount.
And I'll just add, I mean, any event in the park takes staff time. And if I get it right, for the bathrooms, the town is providing all the paper goods. And that's why there's a fee to use the park, because all that's coming out of town general fund. So anyway.
And then in the winter, or as it starts getting dark again and stuff like that, we turn on field lights for them. Some vendors, if they need it. And that's always kind of up in the air too with this gathering, because not a lot of people necessarily do need it, but the park does provide that energy cost as well. So.
Any other comments or questions from?
Can I address something? So there was a request for a $5,000 cash donation. I can tell you what, I didn't budget for that this year. I didn't know that there was going to be a request like that. So I'd be hard pressed to find out where we would take it from. So just to let you know about that, waiving of fees is always your discretion.
With that, if we've exhausted discussion, would someone like to make a motion?
I don't know if I want to make a motion just yet, but I could make a motion to put forth to see what people's appetite is. Given that this is such a community event that does bring in tax revenue, it supports our local businesses, musicians, artists, etc. And we know that we can't honor their request of $5,000. And let's waive, I think we should consider waiving something of the fee. Yes, we have hard expenses. So I'm going to move that we approve this special event application, and we waive. Let me see what it comes. And we waive $1,500 of their fee.
Do we have a second? Okay, I'm gonna say hearing none. Would someone else like to make a motion?
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the special event permit 25-01 for the Arbol Farmers Market.
Okay, do we have a second for that motion?
Second that.
Okay, discussion.
I think we have an opportunity to do something for a very beloved event that supports the community across the board. And without having much impact on the town's finances, but has an impact on the Learning Council and the Arbol Farmers Market. And to me, it seems like we just need to take this step and be like, I think we have that ability to give them something. Maybe I shot too high with my 1,500, but is there even $1,000 sponsorship that we could offer to help offset this?
Well, at this point, we have a motion.
I know.
And a second. No, that's
I'm
okay.
gonna-
So
Yeah.
I think we have to vote. At this point, I'm assuming we should have a vote on this motion that's on the table. Okay, so with that, and the motion is to approve the event application permit.
It is appropriate to have further discussion, right?
Well, it's been seconded, so someone would have to, we'd have to have a withdrawal or amend the motion.
Withdraw the second.
Well, no, if you want to change your motion, I mean, you can do something like that, but after a motion and second is made, it's appropriate to still continue discussion until someone either calls the question or you think
Okay.
everything's been said.
Okay. Trustee Heck. Oh, sorry, yeah.
I
Sorry.
agree with trustee Stewart that we should offer something to them. And I think it wouldn't, I might go along with $1,000 waived fees. So if the motion could be amended to just include a waive of $1,000, I think it, like I said, I would go along with that.
Can I ask a procedural question? What if we vote on this motion and it passes? Can't there be another motion made on top of it?
Yes,
So as opposed to amending?
yes.
Okay, anyway, and I'm just trying to get the procedure. So, because you would like to, who amends the motion?
It would have to be one that made a motion.
It'd be Lucy would have to amend her motion. No? Okay, help us here.
No, anybody can propose an amendment, you can make a motion to amend the main motion, and then you have a second and a vote on that
Amendment.
before it goes back to the main motion.
Okay.
Man, I'm glad I took those classes.
Me too. So trustee.
We have to vote on the first
No,
motion.
no, it sounds like we do not have to vote on the first motion. You can make,
If you
and
would like to make a motion to amend.
I would move that we amend that motion to waive $1,000 of the fees.
Plus potential rental fees of cones and barricades.
it's not on there yet. We don't know what that's gonna cost.
We don't use the cones and barricades, we have our own.
Okay. So, okay, we have an amendment and we need a second to the amendment.
I'll
Do I?
second the amendment.
Okay, all right, I'll raise you one and anyway, so now we need to vote. Can you amend the amendment? We can have discussion on the amendment.
Yes,
Okay,
we have a vote on the amendment,
but can we can have a discussion of the amendment before we call
as
for a
long
vote.
as it's on the amendment and not on the main motion.
Okay, with that, who would like to talk about the amendment? Trustee Stelter.
I'm comfortable with the personal donation. But I am very uncomfortable about giving public money, public tax money away. And that's basically what this is. The fees cover what the cost of the park. We run at a deficit in the park anyhow. We subsidize the parks heavily. And every year it gets a little bit more. Cherry Days and BMWs just basically trash the park. They can't be watered for the entire month of July because they're there and we can't have a mud hole when they're in it. And it's a long July. We all know that July's hot and dry. So we have to make it as best as possible that we get through it. This is another load on the park. We may have to, at some point, barricade off parts of the park just to save the grass for a week, give it a week's rest. That's a real problem we have. And I am very comfortable with making a personal donation. I am not comfortable with donating time.
Okay, anyone else speaking on the amendment? Trustees Hunter or Valentine?
I would agree with trustee Stelter's statement.
And trustee Stelter, personal donation, you mean just what it says? Your own donation off the, away from the board of trustees?
Yes.
Yeah, sure, okay.
Okay. Well, if you've had enough discussion, we need to vote on the motion, including the amendment?
No.
Just the amendment. Okay. So, and please read the amendment.
Okay, the amendment is, there's a motion to amend the main motion to waive $1,000 of.
Okay, thank you. All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, that amendment fails. So we now are back to the main motion, which was to approve the special event permit 25-01. Is that correct? That was the extent of the motion.
Yes.
Okay, so now with that, that doesn't mean somebody can't make another amendment, correct?
They can make another amendment, you just can't make two back to back, you gotta do one of these.
Okay. Does anyone want to amend the main motion?
The question?
Okay, all right. All in favor of the main motion?
Aye.
I,
May I get a roll call?
yes, that was hard to hear. Okay, all in favor, or I'm sorry, you do the roll call, sorry.
Could we just have a discussion in this?
No,
Okay.
I've called, it's the
Okay.
question's been called.
Mayor Pro Tem Schwartz?
Aye.
Nope.
That was aye, correct.
That's aye.
Trustee Stelter?
Aye.
Trustee Check?
Aye.
Trustee Heck?
Aye.
Trustee Hunter?
Aye.
Trustee Valentine?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries, motion carries. All right. And we are now moving off of this item. Looking at what better.
It's up to you, Madam Chair.
I mean, if anybody would like to still propose an amendment,
No, it would be a new motion.
yeah, I mean, it'd have to be a new motion. Go with that one.
This would be specific to the reduction of waiving of fees.
Y'all, this is nothing in the spirit of the town budget. This is a drop in the hat.
And
And I'm gonna make a motion that we waive $750 off of their sponsorship fees.
Did you say 750?
$750.
okay, do we have a second for that? Okay, hearing none. That dies, that motion dies. And do you have a stomach for another
No,
motion?
we're getting nowhere.
All right, we're gonna move on to item number 2, consideration of selecting a water attorney based on proposals, interviews, and scoring, on page 104.
Okay, this is me.
Yes.
This is a long time coming. We've needed a water attorney for quite some time. And there was a clear winner. So doing this, the raw stores, everyone had NSW as either their number one or number two. And overall, they kind of blew the competition out of the water by a full 5%, which is, I think it was 5%. No, 12, almost 12%. This process is went through scoring an RFQ process where we received qualifications from attorneys. You interviewed them and then you scored them independently. And it's really surprising to see that even for some of you who were not able to attend the interviews in person, you still consistently scored that law firm the highest, which I think speaks to their abilities. I mean, what you had was NSW not only gets involved in legislative affairs, advocacy for municipal utilities, but they also get involved in rulemaking, which is pretty important down the pike when we start talking wastewater as well. So there you have it. We had an average score of 95% for NSW. The next highest was MHWH at 83%, and then followed by JVAM at 81% and Balcom and Green at 76%.
Okay. Discussions amongst the trustees? Yes, trustee Schwartz.
I was actually a little bit shocked when I saw how much we had budgeted for a water attorney this year. Not a little bit shocked. I was like, holy moly. I mean, I know we have a lot of work to do.
So that's all professional services. So it's engineering. That's not specific to a water project.
Okay.
And our water attorney. But it's still a lot.
Well, do you know what that breakout is?
We've the way that we've done it is we've looked at historical data on how much we've actually spent for legal services, professional services, and we kept that amount pretty close going through. The difference is a lot of the engineering services that we're getting ready to get into are construction inspection services that go to that capital outlay for those projects. So the water tank, the 2 million gallon water tank, those engineering services will be under that line item, which is funded separate from the expenditures for professional services.
Got it. So that's where we make up that difference because.
Correct.
Okay.
There's still some general engineering services that will be billed to that line item, but I would hazard a guess it'll be 50,000 or less.
Yeah. Any other questions? Anybody, either trustee online? Okay. Let me put out to the audience if anybody would like to speak to our, yes, Clerk Better?
I think trustee Hunter unmuted herself.
Oh, okay.
Said that.
Trustee
I was
Hunter?
just gonna say no comment. Thank you.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Never mind.
Yeah, I just can't see if a hand's up. Anyway, if anybody in the audience has any comments on our selection of a water attorney, you have 3 minutes to come up. Seeing none, and I don't believe we have anybody online with their hand up, so, okay. So I turn it back to the trustees. Are people comfortable with the choice? I'm just gonna use their initials, NSW. Okay, would somebody like to make a motion?
I move to approve engaging the services of NSW as the town's water attorney and direct the town administrator to sign a continuing services agreement.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Sounds unanimous. Thank you. Our next order of business is considering Mr. Greg Schroeder. Or did I get that wrong?
It's spelled Schroeder, but it's pronounced Schrader.
Schrader, sorry. As considering his appointment to the zoning board of adjustments. And I guess at this point, we all have his application and his letter. And why don't you just come up to the podium and just introduce yourself, and we can see if any trustees have any questions for you.
Sure. My name is Greg Schrader, and I live at 24 Olive Court here in town. And I work actually, I am a partner of a transportation engineering consulting company. And our office is over at the DC Hawkins building, corner, if you know where that's at. Real quick, just kind of a background of myself. I've been a professional engineer, licensed in Colorado, practicing for, gosh, I want to say over 30 years now, getting up there. And I've done all different types of engineering, everything from water and wastewater design to public sector engineering, working for a county, and general civil engineering work as far as, doing subdivision, housing design, et cetera. And as of lately, my this last gig, which I'm doing work right now, is in traffic and transportation, which is kind of a subgenre of civil engineering. So that's kind of from a professional perspective what I have as what I've done. I think Stefan kind of talked to me about this opening here, and throughout my entire professional career, I've worked closely with all different levels of government, whether that be a local town, a city, a county, state, even some federal government work. So I'm very familiar with a lot of the different types of regulations, and have spent a lot of time in my career in working with regulations, understanding what they are, doing some rulemaking, and actually doing some writing of regulations. So I'm very familiar with how that all goes. Now, do I know all the exact specifics for the town of Paonia? I don't, but I do know how to get a hold of them and how to get myself up to speed on that. And the other thing I also want to say is, I think from perspective of with boards is, you guys yourselves being elected officials, you have, you take an oath and you go through when the attorney shows up and says what you can and can't do. And I think it's very important to understand, as you guys well know, is that there are certain things that you have to follow the rules by, and there are certain things that you have some discretion. And I think a lot of people mistake that, and they think that they can get elected or they can get appointed to something, and they can do anything the hell that they want, which is not right. That's the quickest way to get a town suit or a community suit, as we all know. And I think what's important about that is, I fully understand how that works, and understand the, regulations as they are put, are not black and white. There are some gray areas, and that's one of the reasons for some of our adjustments, is to help the interpretation of those when there's a difficulty and we're trying to figure out what it is. And I think by putting collective minds together, you can certainly come up with a reasonable way of interpreting the regulations and making sure that the right thing is done. And so I feel that I could certainly be of value in that perspective, understanding that it's not my personal belief, it's what the regulations say, and it's my job to interpret those and work collectively with the board, and we can do such like that. So that's about me. I have 2 young children, a 10 and 13-year-old. I have a 26-year-old that's in Greeley, and doing all the lovely things in Colorado here, and happy to be here. So if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Nobody online? Trustee Hunter or Valentine? Okay. Well,
All right.
with that, would somebody like to make a motion? Because it's the trustees' decision.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Mr. Greg Schroeder to the Zoning Board of Adjustments.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Woo-hoo. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Yeah. And now, we also have a person interested in the tree board. Is our next item of business, and Miss Lisa Short.
I suppose we'll do the same.
Yes, if you would, that would be great. Thank you.
Absolutely. So my name is Lisa Short. I am a recent resident of Paonia. My mom and I and my partner actually just moved here in August of last year. from Arizona, so a lot more trees here than we probably have in Phoenix. I had actually originally applied for the zoning board of adjustments, and Samira emailed back and said, how do you feel about the tree board? To be fully transparent, I do investigative genetic genealogy, so I am more familiar with family trees than I am male trees. But I would love to learn. I'm here to do my civic duty, and it's really important for people to contribute. So that was sort of the impetus for my application, and I am here to learn and contribute in any way that I can, and hopefully make this a better place, you know, even though it's already great as it is.
Any questions? Ms. Short? All right, well, I think, okay, who wants to make the next motion?
I make the motion to approve Lisa Short for the tree board.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you both. Okay, will somebody make a motion for a 10-minute? Full boards, thank you. That's reason for cake, in addition to trustee Hexford. Will somebody make a motion for a 10-minute break so we can have cake?
I make a motion, we have a 10 minute.
I'll second.
Okay, yeah. Happy birthday to you, okay? Happy birthday. Oh, do we need to vote? Oh, do we need to vote? Okay, I figured everybody salivating and we started. Yes. Thank you, everybody. So we are at item number 5, consideration of directing staff on enforcing section 16-11-20 of the Paonia Municipal Code. And, excuse me, I'm gonna turn that over to Steph. Is that what I'm doing? I don't know. Oh, no, it's, sorry, clerk better. Is it me? Go.
Okay, so this was born out of a complaint that was made at the end of last meeting. There's a complaint made against my home, saying that I was operating an LLC out of my house, which also said that my wife, who was a 1099 employee, is a full-time caregiver for my son, would also need a home occupation license. So rather than hide around or something, we're addressing this out in the open. That being said, I asked for legal advice from our town attorney, an interpretation of the code as well, and that's also been provided. There were 2 specific questions that were asked. One of them being about remote work, because there's also a complaint about not forcing the home occupation license for everyone that remote works from their home as well. And his memorandum says that this memorandum is regarding Paonia Municipal Code section 1611-20 regarding requirements. Within the code, home occupation means a business or profession that is conducted within a dwelling unit, an enclosed garage or accessory building, and is in conformance with the provision of section 1611-20 of the code. Remote work, as an employee of a separate business remotely teleworking out of a home office, the code is silent on the matter of remote telework scenarios. Looking at the code language, business or profession that is conducted within the dwelling unit indicates that working as an employee at a geographically dislocated business is probably not contemplated, excluded by the code. Likewise, a consultant using a home office where no public transaction of business is taking place may be a stretch for the existing definition. In short, it seems an unnecessary imposition to prevent someone from working at a home office where such conduct is not meaningfully different than someone sitting in a home office doing their taxes, answering personal emails, and or personally researching their personal hobbies and or interests. Instead, the criteria in paragraphs 4A through I are focused on preventing a dwelling unit or accessory structure thereof from becoming a commercial outward-facing business. Examples would include a small manufacturer, retail store, local lawyer's office, etc., as well as those specific exclusions delineated in paragraph 4I. Thus, I advise the town not pursue and force sole remote telework scenarios at home occupations. LLC business address. The specific question of listing a residential property as an LLC business address was also raised. Looking at the definition of home occupation, it is clear that business must actually be conducted to trigger the permit required in the code. Thus, where a physical residential address is provided to the Secretary of State solely to fulfill the formation requirements of the LLC, such does not trigger the permit requirements for home occupation in the code. Of course, insofar an LLC operates as an outward-facing business, a permit would be required. This memorandum does not contemplate all possible scenarios regarding home occupations. Ultimately, that's up to the Board of Trustees to decide how and where to enforce and fill gaps in existing legislation. To be clear, I have an LLC. We have conducted no business. I spend about $70 a year to the state to maintain the name of my LLC, in case I do at some point want to do consulting.
So with that, questions from the trustees? And Clay is online, right?
Clay's not.
Oh, he's not here. Okay.
This is Clay's
Okay.
time off. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So. Go ahead, Trustee Schwartz.
What's being asked of us tonight? Is it similar to what we had discussed last time? Like, it's not at all related to short-term rentals. I get that. It's completely separate. But are we being asked to decide how much we should enforce it? Is it just bringing awareness to it? What do we need to do as a Board of Trustees?
I think that you've hit it. What do we do as far as enforcing these home occupations? The complaint was made against me, but also against other people working from home. So do we start enforcing this? And how do we go about getting people to do home occupation permits? If that's something you want me to focus on, we can do that. They just need direction from.
Clay's memo was helpful in that, an outward facing business is, a term I hadn't heard before, but it makes sense to me. So if you're asking for the public to come to your home, then yes, that would mean. But otherwise, like I say, for the purposes of just registering a home address of the owner of an LLC, et cetera. And I presume that's what this code says, are just home business. The prohibiting a business from a residence. Actually, I can read the 161120.
So it doesn't prohibit it. It allows for it under certain conditions. So there's a couple of things that could be considered. Let's say you've got a real estate broker who doesn't have an office downtown, but is a single broker that operates out of their home. They might have a home occupation to meet with clients there before they go to house visits. That kind of stuff. We do have a former mayor who has a home occupation license for a stitching company that she operates out of her house, like a sewing company. So those are the kinds of things where you would meet with clients or customers, but you can't actually sell product. That's one of the restrictions. You can't have a company where you sell
Shampoo.
well, yeah, candles, right? You keep candles out of in front of your house to shop front, like for shampoo. Yeah. So
So I can,
What would do, like a hairdresser or a barber?
there are exceptions for hairdressers and barbers in our code.
You can have a one-seat hairdressing salon, but barbers are prohibited.
Okay.
Well,
There's a home occupation.
so they're saying under no circumstances shall any of the following be considered a home occupation: antique shop, barber shop, beauty parlor with more than one chair, clinic, mortuary, nursing home, restaurant, veterinarian's clinic, or dance. So you can cut hair out of your living room as long as you only have one chair.
And you can vaccinate a horse?
No.
Veterinary services?
No, you cannot do that.
Oh,
You cannot have a veterinarian
Okay, good.
or a dance studio. So there are some things that.
Trustee Schwartz.
I'm curious about, in the code rewrite that's happening, what sort of input has Leslie had? Because, yeah, definitely some of this seems very outdated and not relevant to 2025. Has she had any input on this?
She is addressing all of the code, so this is one of them that she'll address as well. There are some other concerns, because what this doesn't contemplate and what it seems to kind of restrict is a situation where there's a home healthcare aide or a home healthcare worker who is working in a home, providing a service. This may restrict that as well. So, but there's plenty of statute and case law, according to Clay, that says you can't mess with that. So,
What would be an example of somebody abusing the system if we open the door?
there have been a couple of people that have requested recently for homes that are on the market where they're to see if they could put a shop front in the front of the house and then live in the back, and it's in a residential zoning district. That's expressly prohibited by this section. And, you know, they said that they would seek a variance. Okay, good luck. So.
To me, it's almost that we don't know. Unless a neighbor says there's a truck that shows up every day and they're putting stuff in and out of the garage, which I think came up when Leslie was here. But we don't have a business license program in the town of Paonia. So we don't have any way of knowing that people are doing something out of their home that they shouldn't without a license unless we learn about it from someone else.
I mean, what this would require is that art studios that are making art in their home would have to get a home occupation permit. So they'd have to follow that criteria.
Even if they're not selling it in that home?
If they've got a forward-facing business, they would have to.
Sorry.
Hang on one second, hang on. Just, everybody's reading the code and thinking, all right, we'll definitely take comments from the audience. And 3 minutes, just give us your name and if you live in town or not, and then sign the book. Hello, Marty. Let's see if anybody's.
I'm Marty Derlin. I live in town, 65 Cedar Drive. And I work in my home. I'm a freelance reporter. And I work in my home. I don't have a sign in the window. But I mean, that's my workplace. And during COVID, everybody worked from home. And I just suggest you change the code to make it more elastic and allow for, like Trustee Swartz said, 2025. I think it's not, you know, it'd be funny if I did put a sign on that, you know, honestly, but anyway. I think there are a lot of people like that, and I would hate to have to take something out of my little freelance money that and pay for something. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, Suzanne?
I brought this to your attention because I think there's a double standard here. How you're coming down so hard on people who just want to rent a bedroom in their house to someone who's actually living in the house, and yet taking rooms out of circulation for businesses. It's like, it's something that you have to look at the bigger picture when you're talking about rooms and what people do in their houses. And my question is, do you even want to wade into that territory? It gets pretty messy. And then this small town where there really is no, there's not a great economy here. And people have found a way to live in their homes, working in their homes or whatever. I think this is a matter that should come when you contemplate the new comprehensive plan. I mean, I don't see the logic in doing all this regulation now, or even talking about it, when we're at kind of the twilight of an old zoning code, and the new land use regulations are going to be considered based on what our comprehensive plan is saying. So I think it's also a little interesting that this rises to the level of getting a written attorney comment when it has to do with the town administrator and me bringing up his LLC in his home. And yet the short-term rental ordinance didn't receive, the short-term renting of homes didn't receive a written attorney comment.
Sure did.
The renting of rooms didn't receive a written attorney comment. What I read was 1.5 pages of this bizarre document that seems to have been written by AI or the town administrator, but I didn't see anything that had to do specifically with the renting of rooms in someone's house. And that portion is actually not ambiguous. It says single unit dwelling in there. They're the part of an owner living in their house, renting a room. It's been something that we've had precedent set over the past 27 years in this town. And it's been allowed by this town, even when people have come and asked for permission. So thank you. I just wanted to point out the kind of discrepancy between these two ordinances. And maybe you want a resolution for the home occupations as well. Thank you. Since we're going down that path.
Anyone else?
Someone online.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's Autumn. Okay. Hi, Autumn. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Autumn Nguyen and I live in town. I wanted to comment on the home health aides and live-in caregivers for the home occupation situation. Most of us, like myself, since I was brought up, work for agencies that work with the state and have letters of medical necessity requiring the treatment for disabled individuals. So I don't know, it might intervene with state laws if you want to pursue anything in regards to Medicaid and home health aides that are paid through that. Just wanted to put that out there. Thank you. That was all.
Thank you. So, no one else in the audience? Okay, just don't want to overlook anyone. Any further discussion? Yeah, certainly go. Trustee Stelter.
This hasn't been updated since 2000. That was the last update of this. 25 years ago, nobody was working over the internet. I mean, there was DARPANET still existed, but nobody was working over it. And we need to just bring the whole section up to date, as well as doing up-to-date regulation of short-term rentals and renting of rooms. And it's coming, but we're going to have to do it in a logical manner. And this is kind of a tempest in a teapot brought forth because somebody complained. And that's why we're doing this. But I assume that we will fix this when we get our ordinances done. And I anticipate that we'll have the ordinance done or nearly done by December.
And you're referring to the code rewrite.
The code rewrite, that's correct. Because this is out of date for 25 years. And many of our ordinances are further out of date than that. And we do need the update desperately. So, and it's coming.
Mr. Schwartz?
You know, I appreciate like staff bringing this forward because you need to know if you need to be enforcing this. And it's like, okay, so as the Board of Trustees, we recognize, I mean, I think everyone recognizes it's wholly out of date. And we don't want to have enforcement for it. But we do want to make some perhaps changes. We do want to make changes to it in the future. So do we need a resolution that says staff, like, we're going to, like last time we said, oh, I think that Lucy made that great motion about the moratorium for 6 months for enforcement while we let the code rewrite happen. Does that seem appropriate for tonight? Because I don't think we don't want to just like toss it out. We need to have, as you said, Trustee Stelter, a systematic process for addressing it.
Oh, better?
So, the reason the resolution for the other one that you're talking about is in here is because if you're gonna do something like that, it's the appropriate way to do it. And it's on paper, it's very clear and transparent to the public, what you guys are thinking, what your intentions are and going forward. So I mean, ultimately it's your decision, but that's why it's being done this way. It's the proper way to do it.
I'd like to add that there is a reason to have a home occupation permit if someone is running a business out of their home and selling things. I had that at my previous home. The people across the street had an art studio. And they were told you cannot be doing certain things because it's a residential neighborhood. So you have to have some semblance of saying that is a bridge too far. I mean, to have an LLC in your name is not, to me, you're not doing anything. You know, I mean, you're not conducting business. But if you're selling art out of your living room and people are driving and coming and going, that's an issue for your neighbors. So I think this is still appropriate to have in place. There are pieces of it that I think work fine. But like I said before, the town of Paonia can't police this because we don't have business licenses. We don't know who's doing what in their home. It's usually that a neighbor complains about increased traffic or whatever's being made smells. And then it comes to the town's attention and then the folks are asked to come in for a permit. So for me, at this point, I say leave well enough alone and use the attorney's advice about working from home when, you know, I have a home office that I do all my mayor stuff. It's not a business. I don't need a home occupation. It's just my computer. So I think what the attorney gave us is common sense. And given that people do work at their computer and nobody's knocking at their door wanting to buy a book from them or whatever, that if, I say leave well enough alone at the moment. Personally. Is it?
That resonates with me a lot, what you just said, like, but I think as far as, do we need to have something more official for staff that says, don't enforce these things? That's what I'm wondering about is our next step.
I personally think
Or-
you need to enforce.
Well, not remote work, like the
Right,
home offices,
right.
like the
And
rest of it, yes,
Yeah,
I'm
I
okay
think you
with.
leave it, but take the attorney's advice.
Yeah, do we need
is-
to more,
up to
do we
date.
need to formalize this part more, or put like a pause on it, or a moratorium while we get the code reworked, the comprehensive plan, et cetera. Play, on vacation?
Yeah.
Could we just postpone this until, to make a decision about our formal next steps once we get his feedback?
Yeah, and I think it's really important. There was a complaint made about me. And so, and what happens in my home, and I think it needed to be brought forward in a very transparent manner to show this is what's going on, right? I have an LLC that has conducted no business. I pay a state fee every month or every year. That's all I do. And so I think that needed to be brought out into the open since a complaint was made, especially because I'm meant to enforce the code, right? And so that's why it was brought up to combat what I would say it's just a complaint.
It wasn't a complaint.
No, I'm sorry. No hollering from the audience. Sorry. Yes, Suzanne, no. Yes, just a second.
When I was on the board before, this was in effect. And I had an LLC that was registered to my home address. We conducted no business at home other than the bookkeeping, and we paid checks, that kind of thing. But I had an LLC, and I didn't realize that an LLC was a business as such. I didn't conduct business. Nobody came to my home for that. But I was in violation then if LLCs are considered.
That's the question at hand tonight.
May I make a motion?
Sure.
I motion that we table this until the next meeting when we can get Attorney Buchner's advice as to our next step.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Sound like, okay, none opposed, thank you. Moving on to item 6, consideration of approval of ordinance 2501, publishing by title. I believe this is quick matter.
Yes, it is. So this is just an ordinance to amend our existing code to change it to what we just voted on, which is publishing by title. So I did a strike and underline so you can see what language will be added to make it done that way. Will include, or is my intention when I publish it by title to make sure and publish with it, the ordinance in full can be seen, on the town website with the web address or at 214 Grand. We'll make sure to have paper copies available for people who prefer to look at it that way. So I just need you guys to officialize it so I can publish our last in full ordinance and.
Except for the other one on the agenda.
Well, the last ones.
Yeah, but both will have to be published.
Yeah, I'll just do
Okay.
this one second, so I wasn't wrong.
But it's ironic, you will have to publish both on
Yes.
tonight's agenda, okay. Questions? Comments? Oh, trustee Schwartz.
I have a question for Deputy Clerk Santiago. So at a previous meeting, we, the comment was made that it was hard to see, to see the ordinances online. And I think you were saying that you were working on reformatting them or just making it so it's a little easier. How's that process coming along?
It's good. We have a new section now that are ready for publication.
Awesome. Thank you for addressing that.
I just wanted to toss out there, so, I mean, yes, about the tab and redo all of our public notices there, even the ones that we publish in the paper, we still put them there. But some of the formatting stuff is not things that we can control, because the state passed a bill a while back about ADA accessibility. And so there are certain fonts and certain things that were allowable and made websites a little easier to read and the stuff on them that aren't allowable now because they're not ADA accessible. So, but Ruben's doing a really good job of finding comparable things and getting it all put together, so thanks.
Anyone else? I'll open it up to the public. Anybody has any comments on this ordinance or anybody online? Seeing none? Oh, Suzanne, go ahead.
So I just wanted to question about what Clerk Vetter just said. I can't figure out how to find the meetings anymore, or packets anymore, or minutes anymore. And it seems like if you click on a date on the calendar, you can pull stuff up, but it's not a very organized and comprehensive presentation. I don't know if it's still not done, and that's why I'm not seeing it. It said like, I just heard her say that it was coming along really well. Can that be clarified, please?
I'd say Clerk Vetter is going to do a training on the new, so let's just leave it at
With the
that.
public?
Yeah.
Okay.
And are you showing it right now?
I actually had this question during the break, and if you go to where the meeting
Go
notice
back,
is.
will you go back just to
Show how you get to it.
So this is the same place where you went and got things before.
Yeah.
Right here. Then you go down to the link that's right here. And then if you go to the meeting and click on the banner itself. It's actually a much nicer format where you don't have to scroll through the layers and layers and layers of the thing. You can use an interactive bookmarking. You can only download the agenda item that's interested you, but I will do a further one. But I did have that question during the recess and I showed somebody, so it's not a bad idea. And anybody who was subscribed for the meetings before, for meeting notifications when they're published, you'll have to resubscribe now because that didn't carry over. But at the very top of that page, there's a big thing that says subscribe. So.
But as you can see here in meeting files, you got the agenda right here. And you have the agenda packet.
Okay. Well, it's just gonna take some time exploring that, I guess, before I can comment.
This is actually ADA accessible, which is one of the reasons why we had to move, because our other one did not fulfill the requirements of the state law.
The other one was cumbersome, but I was able to understand it a little bit better, so it'll be interesting to see how this one works. Thank you.
Thank you. And so you are still talking about trainings for.
Yeah, and I'm doing them as work sessions so that all of our board and committee members can attend without breaking any open meeting laws. And so of course it'll be open to the public as well. Okay, they won't get to play with all the cool stuff you guys get to play with, but public has some pretty cool new stuff too.
Okay. Anyone else that wanted to comment on this? Anybody online?
I may, I wanted to show you as well on the homepage, when you actually go to the calendar and say Board of Trustees, I put the agenda in. There's the agenda for today's meeting, and here's the packet. Right here, you can download the packet directly from the calendar. Sweet. It's all right here.
And click the Zoom link.
Yeah, you can click on the Zoom link. It's all right here.
It's just new, it'll take time for people to get used to, but it's really nice.
I move to approve ordinance 2501, 25-01, amending chapter 1, general provisions, article 1, code, section 60, publication of ordinances of the Paonia Municipal Code regarding the passages of the referred ballot measure, allowing the town of Paonia to publish ordinances by title only instead of publishing them in full.
Second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second one.
Listen to it again.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, sounds unanimous. Thank you. Next is item number 7, consideration of adopting resolution 12-2025 board rules of procedure. Oh, no, that's the one sorry, that's been moved to another meeting. Okay, sorry. Item number 8, consideration of resolution 13-2025 temporary moratorium on enforcement.
And there is a word correction that needs to be made in this.
Okay, go ahead.
Instead of under 30 days, it needs to be on a monthly basis. So there was a lot of motions.
Can you just give a quick summary, look better on this, or Stefan, whichever one of you? Just.
Do you want me to do it or?
Yes, please.
So this is just making official what you guys did last time. So 180 days, 6 months, temporary moratorium. A resolution is a little bit easier. I know there was talk of if at the end of that 6 months, the code wasn't quite ready, to extend, it's pretty easy to do by resolution. This makes it official. This goes out to the public. Public has access to resolutions on Muni Docs. And it shows your intent. So even if someone were to leave or this, that, or the other thing, it just shows what you're doing as a whole. I missed it a little bit on the monthly or longer basis, which is why we do need to change that. You guys will remember there was some confusion about getting just the right wording. But other than that, it's just saying that you're doing a temporary moratorium on the enforcement of this part of the code until such time as our code rewrite is done and it's not so ambiguous.
Trustee comments, or I ask for public comment? Okay. Anybody in the public want to comment on this? Suzanne?
So I appreciate your attention to this matter. What I wanted to say was we're talking about ambiguity here. And that's why I wanted to point out there are other ambiguities in the code, things that we're choosing to read and not read. And that was you guys brought the home occupation permit ordinance forward. We didn't know why over the last few meetings. There was no explanation to it. And I was just pointing out some ambiguities there. It wasn't a complaint per se, but it was an example of something that I saw. That being said, I do want to say it would be nice. I know the attorney had a verbal statement that he made at the last meeting, but I think it would rise to the point of putting it in writing, just like the home occupation permit seemed important enough that you put that into writing. I don't think I didn't comment at the last meeting because it sounded like the town attorney kind of put it to rest. And then after the public comment, you brought to life this thing about renting of rooms again. And actually, when I go and read that ordinance specifically, it's actually pretty clear. And it talks about single unit dwellings where the owner is the occupant. The owner is the person who's living there for more than 30 days. It doesn't mean that every single room is a dwelling unit that has to be occupied for 30 days, because if those were all dwelling units, we wouldn't have a housing shortage in this town. If those were all counted as dwelling units. If you look at our definitions, there's something called a rooming unit, and it doesn't contain a kitchen or a separate meter. But the renting of rooms in an owner's house has never been regulated as such in this town. I know people who have actually gone and asked for permission. They were told they couldn't do a bed and breakfast, but renting of rooms was not regulated. So there is precedent set behind this. And I think it's kind of weird that all of a sudden this has become a big issue. And I don't think there's all that much ambiguity in that. There might be ambiguity in other parts of the code, like with definitions saying 30 days or more for houses. But this is a little like kabuki, and it's unnecessary in my opinion. But, I appreciate you wanting to cross your I's and dot your T's. Dot your T's and dot your I's and cross your T's. and doing this resolution, but I do think it's unnecessary and kind of a waste of time. And I hope you get the attorney's statement to go with it. Thank you.
Anyone else?
You have Deborah speaking.
Oh, Deborah?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Would you please just introduce yourself?
Yes, Deborah Spiegel. I live in town.
Thank
I
you.
sent 2 letters tonight for inclusion in the record on tonight's board meeting. I only have time to read one of them. Through this resolution, I recognize that you're trying to say that the town isn't going to try to enforce anything on short-term rentals at the moment. However, your resolution doesn't acknowledge the fact that the public rejected ordinance 2024-05 through a voter referendum. It doesn't reflect the democratic process that we just witnessed and experienced. The following are proposed edits. Title: A resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Paonia, Colorado, imposing a 180-day moratorium on attempts to regulate short-term rentals of rooms in a home and declaring the intention of the Board of Trustees to collaborate with the public and consider the adoption of new regulation concerning short-term rentals. Keep the first whereas, strike what's written as a second, third, fourth, and fifth whereas, and add or amend with the following whereases. Whereas the town of Paonia adopted ordinance 2024-05 regulating short-term rentals in November of 2024. Whereas the ordinance was repealed by voter referendum with a majority vote of 381 for repeal, 160 against, out of 541 total votes. Whereas the town attorney has concluded that the town does not have code that applies to short-term rentals, whereas the town aspires to work with the public, the staff, and the town attorney to create a widely acceptable ordinance pertaining to short-term rentals, the board finds that a 180-day moratorium on attempts to regulate short-term rentals is reasonable and necessary to maintain an atmosphere of neutrality and collaboration. This moratorium will help prevent confusion or conflicting interpretations of the current code while new legislation is thoughtfully considered. Whereas on April 8th, 2025, a unanimous vote of the Board of Trustees decided that due to the ambiguity of the Paonia Municipal Code, to instruct staff to not enforce the section of the code that deals with the renting of rooms. Note that this section simply reflects verbatim the unanimous vote. We're continuing now through the resolution, jump down to section 2, strike rental of homes in less than a month so it matches Lucy's motion. Strike section 3, it's unnecessary and redundant. Section 4, change to before the expiration of the temporary moratorium on enforcement imposed by this resolution, town staff, working with the town attorney and in collaboration with the public, shall investigate, review, and analyze potential legislation pertaining to short-term rentals within the town of Paonia. The Board of Trustees declares that it will give due and timely consideration to the adoption of any proposed regulations. You'll notice here that I'm taking out the words that were added at a later date that were not part of the unanimous vote, weren't in the motion that was voted on.
Thank you, Deborah. Oh, quick letter.
Okay. So number one, Clay and I worked on this together. I'm sorry, the town attorney and I worked on this together. So this was approved by him. Number two, it's about the discussion and the vote that you guys had last meeting, which is why it's worded the way it is. And then, of course, I did accidentally put the wrong words in, which I brought to your attention, and that wording does need to be fixed. Before this goes into this.
Which whereas was that in? Is it the fifth one?
It's not just in one whereas, but it's in the areas where it says in a home for less than
30 days.
Yeah, for a home, in a home for less than 30 days, that just needs to be changed through the resolution.
Month.
Less than a monthly basis.
So less than a monthly basis, which is what the code says.
Thank you for that clarification. Thoughts? Trustees Hunter and Valentine, do you have anything you'd like to add, ask? or ask?
No.
Not at this time, thank you.
Somebody like, yes, trustee Schwartz?
Yeah, I just want to just comment on, thanks, Deborah, that was, I didn't quite catch where all the changes are because so it's really hard for me to make a decision about what to include or not include. Yeah, I don't even, I'm trying to still, oh, it feels very late right now. I'm still trying to digest no more sugar. I'm still trying to digest everything that you had mentioned in there, but I really appreciate you taking a stab at writing this resolution. That was a rambling thought. My apologies.
Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 13-2025, the temporary moratorium on enforcement. With the changes of removing 30 days and adding a monthly basis.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. More discussion? Need a vote? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Sound like it, okay. That motion passes. And we have item number 9, consideration of acceptance of resolution 14-2025, expedited review of affordable housing applications.
Okay, so after discussing with DOLA over the last couple of weeks about the final amounts of funding available from the IHOP grant for the housing needs assessment, an action plan and how to collect them, those existing funds after the short-term rental ordinance was repealed, another option was presented by DOLA. The town could require an expedited review process for affordable housing, which is less than 90 days. So it has to be 90 days or less. DOLA has advised that communities with a process that includes a review under 90 days is a good fit for adopting a resolution to codify our intent to continue meeting requirement and stay compliant with Proposition 123 and the IHOP grant to select a qualifying strategy. DOLA fast track guidance also states those local governments that already comply with Prop 123 expedited review requirements should review their processes, consider potential improvements, adopt language that aligns with Prop 123. I had NOLA review this resolution as well, and Sam would put it in where they had one extra whereas, or they want to put in.
It was under the, where it talks about zoning.
Whereas the town of Paonia's current process for reviewing proposed housing projects is typically completed within 60 days per application. That's what they asked us to put in.
Is that possible?
That's normal. That's a normal turnaround for a building permit.
Just the permit. So.
This is an expedited review process for a building permit for affordable housing.
But it does not encompass all of the public hearings that could go on if it's a PUD or.
There are provisions that allow for that. So that was actually talked about in one of these whereas.
Because the first whereas at the top of page 168 also creates a policy for expedited review to ensure that affordable housing projects are reviewed and decision rendered within 90 days. So my concern is a project sounds like more than one house being asked to be built. But is that plural because it could be multiple building permits for a affordable house? I'm just concerned we already know our process for major subdivisions, et cetera, which is 60 days for planning commission. Anyway, So I'm not sure if this is outside of that.
So here, it's in section 5. The trustees establish a formal policy that any complete application received by the town for an affordable housing development or development with at least 50% of the property dedicated to permanently restricted affordable housing units, as defined in the Housing Needs Assessment and Housing Action Plan, shall be placed on the next available agenda once proper public notice has been posted, and a decision rendered on the application within 90 days to ensure an expedited and timely review of the affordable housing project. So those public notices also apply to planned unit developments, things like that would come.
So the 90 days, though, you were saying 90 days to approve a building permit.
This is.
Are there 2 sets of 90 days? That's what I'm trying to get at.
No, this
All
is,
has to happen?
that's right. This is for an affordable housing development review.
Could it really get done in 90 days?
It can. We're doing it in 60 days.
But we're not, when we just did this minor subdivision, major subdivision, we're not looking at the building permit.
You're not, but you've approved a subdivision.
Right.
And if there are,
So then is the clock ticking from today to the 30th?
he
From
hasn't
today?
turned in an application. So once an application has been turned in, you have 90 days to get that.
See that, you're answering my question. So all of what we just did at the planning commission and here is not the 90-day clock.
Right.
It's a separate, we gotta get all that part done. Then when they come in for a building permit.
Once a
then that's-
complete application is in.
So the 90 days is really for the building permit, not the subdivision.
And the development review. So once somebody turns something in, you can't wait 6 months to review it. We're saying you've got to review that subdivision application within 90 days. And then once they come in for a building permit for however many homes they want to build, you have 90 days.
Okay.
To get that.
So we met the first 90 days getting this approved. So now that's off the calendar.
I think we've done it within 45.
Yeah, but that's off the calendar. And then when they come in to, let's say they're building a duplex.
Even if they were building 2 homes at once and they met that affordable housing criteria that we've got listed, it would have to be done within 90 days, that review. They have to be able to have a permit within 90 days, which is, we're turning them around in 60 or less. And that's even for commercial applications.
And is this clearly saying that?
It is.
Because I read it and I was not comfortable.
This is the language suggested for building.
Okay, but is it clear that what we just went through for this major subdivision, we are not going to be dinged for that time?
I think it is. This is their language.
Okay,
So,
yeah, everyone understands that. You see what I'm saying though? Because there's no way we're going to get anything done in 90 days if we have to include the planning commission and all the public noticing.
Public notice is not included.
Right.
Okay.
But that's not clear here to me.
Once proper public notice has been posted.
Section
5.
Okay. So establish any application received by the town for an affordable housing development with at least 50% of property dedicated. So it's a housing development, right? It's not just a house, which has to go through both processes.
But it also says that they are dedicated to permanently restricted affordable housing units. So that means there has to be something in there that says that this will remain an affordable housing unit. It can increase 50% in the next 5 years. It's going to have to be language that it can only go up by inflation or whatever. Aspen has a huge ordinance that does this for affordable housing units.
Which says to me that this will not happen that often.
Almost never.
I mean, we need it to happen in Payoneer,
Yes.
but it's pretty prescriptive.
Yes,
Right,
very
okay.
prescriptive.
Sorry. Yes, Trustee Schwartz.
Did you have something?
That's it.
Okay, I think and I know that this was, I think, decided before I joined the board, but it's whereas the town of Paonia opted into Proposition 123 and committed to increasing the affordable housing in Paonia by 25 units or 3% annually or 9% over a 3-year period. feel like we're close. It makes me a little nervous to have this in a resolution because we're not. That just like kind of jumped out at me. Like,
Again, these were their suggestions. So if we want to be able to collect that money, this resolution has to get passed. We have until April 30th. So if we don't, then we're giving back about $7,700. And that's fine.
can you describe like, so we've previously adopted into Proposition 123?
We did.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so there was Proposition 123 was approved by the Board of Trustees. Was that late 2023? It said that we would commit to building and increasing our affordable housing over a 3-year period. This only matters if you get Prop 123 money. And so we can continue to re-up, say we're going to continue to do this over the next 3 years. So when, let's say it becomes 2027, we're supposed to have homes built. We haven't taken any money, we re-up it. But also putting this in place also makes us eligible for Prop 123 funding. We were told by DOLA that if we were to do this, those communities that early in 2025 have adopted this strategy are eligible for the first round of funding coming up.
And this doesn't put any pressure on us to remove the water moratorium, but it also will give us, as I understand it, that we can get grant money from the state to help with the affordable housing. And that's the biggest thing with this. I'm not anticipating that money is going to be there long term, but at this point, there's still some money there in that pot.
So that was something I added, was Section 4, that this expedited review policy does not imply or implicitly allow the circumvention of the water moratorium.
Any comments from the audience or anybody online? Forget your first name, I'm sorry. Say it again.
Sure.
Shirley, sorry.
Julie Evans, I have 2 houses in with outside Jamie. As I suspected, this has all been about money, grants, and now I'm listening to what you're saying here. There's so many questions I have, but what I'm hearing now is that we've had to turn a corner to get this grant money, and now we're dealing with affordable housing. Well, that's where the short-term rentals came in. We got to do this with the short-term rentals so we can get this grant money. And now I'm thinking, okay, we're actually going to try to do something that's really going to address the affordable housing. Where does that leave the short-term rentals? Is the town still saying that the short-term rentals is going to provide affordable housing if we can get them to change to long-term? Anyway, that's what's going through my head now. What's happening here? Where does this leave the short-term rental thing for affordable housing? I hope you understand what I'm saying. I'm confused.
Suzanne?
This, based on Shirley's comment, it takes me back to the question of spare rooms. And when she's talking about short-term rentals using spare rooms, which creates housing issues, why does taking spare rooms out of circulation for home offices not create the same issue? I just want you to think about that. And I'm not suggesting we could go down a rabbit hole with this. That makes me really uncomfortable because I don't think the town needs that kind of regulation. But keep an open mind when you think about what people do with the spare rooms in their house. I think they have a right to some freedom there. That being said, I wanted to say, resolution is not a law, it's an aspiration, is what my understanding is. So, this is kind of aspirational. Also, Proposition 123, I believe it had to do with a vote that the town entered into. It was a statewide vote where towns could opt into this tax money or this special fund. And the town of Paonia voted for this affordable housing thing. It wasn't just a town decision. I don't think a board decision. I think it had to do with a vote. I'm not clear on that, but there was definitely a vote. And on section 3, page 168 here of the packet, the trustees authorize the town administrator and treasurer or designee. I know town administrator and treasurer is Stefan's title right now, but it might be wise to just keep it to town administrator, because the town administrator and the treasurer could be separate positions someday. And my question is, why would I guess the treasurer would be implementing the funding. So maybe I'm overthinking that one. So, so it's the town administrator, the treasurer, or the designee, I guess. I don't know if that administrator has to share those two positions. And maybe I'm being a little bit too, but I think that's a little unclear to me. Like if Cindy Jones were here and Corinne were here, would they both have to be involved? Should there be a comma there instead of the and? That's my question, to make it a little bit more enduring. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
And that's a question that I hope you contemplate. Thanks.
I am Jaylene Clark, and I'm lifelong Paonia resident, but I live about a mile outside the town. How I interpreted it, and if I'm wrong, I heard during this process leading up to the short-term rental vote that, well, the state is making us do this, which all of a sudden it just kind of made sense, because then it made sense, the comments I was getting from people, and it seemed like a manufactured problem with our current existing short-term rentals in Paonia. They're less than 4% of the housing units. We've had very little complaints about them. People take care of their properties. They help bring people in. I know in mine, I send them to the Arbol Market all the time because it's right across the street. But anyway, if this is Dola's way of bailing us out of a string attached to a grant, I know what it feels like to be somebody trying to come forward and do a affordable housing project, which I just got shut down from the town on cold. Embrace that person. If you can put a rush on getting them through and approvals, as long as it stays, it's attractive, it stays in the character, and it meets all the crossing the T's and dotting the I's, but I see that as a little thing to give up. And I've heard Stefan say you can do it. So if this is a focus and you can provide it, the short-term rental thing, as we found out from talking to the majority of the current short-term rental owners in Paonia, would produce zero housing. You could not increase the affordable housing through that very severe ordinance. But this is a real measure of how you could improve affordable housing. So I just think maybe it's a path to pursue, and I think Stefan's found it. At least that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
I just got a curiosity question. Definition of affordable housing. When is affordable housing not affordable housing? What's the number?
That is in our housing needs assessment and action plan. Let's see. Okay, so page 97, the Housing Needs Assessment and Action Plan, talks about family income versus household income, and it breaks down what would be considered affordable for our area based on the average median income for Delta County. It's we're below the poverty line here, so our county is lower than the state average.
Yeah, I know.
And so that means that an affordable house, I think it was no greater than 30% of income or 50% AMI for a very low income for a family of four.
So it's based on income.
It's all based on income, correct?
Median income as well in Delta
Right.
County.
And then the house is figured out. Ratio.
30%.
So as an example, on page 98, the average income, the median income for the state of Colorado is 80,184. For Delta County, it's 51,803. And for the town of Paonia, it's 53,646. So well below the state median.
So a house would be like 150,000, be a line.
80,000.
How much?
80.
That barely buys a machine here.
That's why we have to get grants from DOLA to help us build it. And the last lot that sold in town, sold unoccupied lot, it was marketed at $68,000, no water, no sewer.
Yeah.
So you can see we got a real problem.
Yeah, it's unworkable, I'd say.
It's not there's a possibility of some grants that we could get, so we could get the state to fund the water and sewer taps. And perhaps there'll be a housing development that can be 50% affordable.
We can annex the Adobes at Main Street.
It's gonna mean something has to be annexed. There is no more buildable area in town. There's lots, but not a development in any way, shape, or form.
So break even, so page 58 actually gives capital gap between construction costs and household buying power. It gives break even prices, maximum affordable purchase price for a 3-person household. It gives all of that stuff. So at a household income of 62,640, that maximum affordable purchase price is 198,200. And they're saying that a house like that would cost about $460,000.
Yeah. It's not doable.
But you're talking in a neighborhood, you've also got to build out all of your infrastructure. So that's water pipes, sewer pipes, gas lines, electric lines, roadways, curb and gutter. And those are things that state funding can help to offset the costs from a developer. And that's why we opted into the Proposition 123. So that we could be in line to get that funding to assist with new developments.
Yes, trustee Phil.
And also on Oak Street, we see the little miners cottages they have there that are 20 by 24. That's probably what we're looking at. We're not looking at, that size of a living room in a house. And we're not looking at 3, 4, 5 bedroom. We're looking at 2-bedroom houses with 1 bath. That kind of thing. That's an affordable unit. It's a starter unit, it's what we used to call them. And if they're on a lot big enough, they can add on to that as well as the family grows, or they can sell it and buy the next house. That's kind of where we're at.
I just want to acknowledge that we're getting close to time. We're all really tired. I'm very tired. And I think we need to stay on this motion. And I think this makes sense. I really appreciate the comments that were said, the background for it, and that it's not committing us to do anything until we get the funding. So I'd like to make a motion.
And we don't have a motion, do we?
Okay, I move to approve resolution 14-2025 expedited review of affordable housing applications.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays?
Yep.
Okay, we have a nay. Okay, one nay.
Got it.
Thank you. Let's see, we are at item number 10, right? Yes, consideration of approval of the services agreement between the town of Pawnee and Colorado Complete Clean. All right.
They're ready to start, so they're planning to be here Thursday. The contract has been worked out. It's a 3-year agreement. They have already passed their CGIS compliance. That's done. They've already done a walkthrough. They plan to do their first deep clean this week, which is we need desperately. And so it's before you tonight for final approval.
We'll have a motion.
I make a motion that we enter the contract to Colorado Complete Clean for town hall cleaning services.
Wait, does it need to have this?
It's fine.
Okay.
It's in the packet.
I mean, does the motion have to say it?
No, the contract's in the packet.
Oh, well, no, I just meant the recommended motion. We don't need to, does it, the motion have to say with the option to renew for 2 additional years? I didn't know if the motion.
That's all in the contract, so it's.
Okay, so the motion's fine, wait, anyway, just check. Okay, who wants the second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous, thank you. Now, I don't even want to read all this, but it is a pretty important ordinance we need to pass.
Yeah, this one, I can't leave tonight until we get this.
Yeah, we gotta get this done. So it's item number 11, and it is ordinance that will approve our getting loan funds from the Colorado Water Resources Power Development Authority. And I'm gonna pass it over to you, Stefan.
So this is what our bond council has been working on. They have been phenomenal. They were able to even write the report that Sam was able to just put it as a staff report. So this is all, it's money well spent for this bond council. They've taken a big headache away. They've been working with RPDA, what we call the authority. They've been working with them to finalize details of the loan. We had a little hiccup. I had to reopen it up. I think I sent you guys emails about it. Because of past experiences with the authority and taking out loans for both the wastewater plant and water, we're talking over a decade ago or longer. We had pledged both water and sewer revenues. When I went to go file this loan, I wanted to only do our water revenues towards the repayment. But because we had set the precedent with the authority in the past, and those loans are not fully repaid, we have to also put our sewer revenue to it. And that doesn't mean that we're going to be paying this loan with our sewer revenues. It means that if we get into a bind, let's say half the town leaves on our water system, to be able to, or let's say a couple of consecutive systems leave, that's a better example. A couple of consecutive systems leave, we would have to make up that revenue either by raising rates or by dipping into those sewer funds. That's the unfortunate part because of past practices. But that's done now.
Any questions on it?
How can, Town Administrator Wynn, how can we do that if it's an enterprise fund? State just says.
They say, yeah, they said that this is the way to go, and this is also, I really don't like that we're doing it, but it's the way to get the funding. It's because of what has happened in the past. I like keeping them separate, but it's not going to. If we were to say we weren't pledging our sewer revenue to it, we wouldn't get the loan. Unfortunately.
And then my other question is about the leveraged loan. In the description, it says 3,744,000, and then down in the ordinance, it's 4.5 million. Why the discrepancy?
I don't know. So it's an amount not to exceed. So I'm wondering if that has something to do with it. Oh, but it says in an amount not to exceed. Sam, do you know why did Courtney say anything about that?
No, I put it in exactly as she gave it to me. So. Is there an original email?
Oh, okay. So part of this also includes $300,000 for our design and engineering grant that we received. It's actually part of the loan package, but then they forgive it. It's 100% forgivable. I'm wondering if that's why that's included in there. Because as I'm adding them up, 5, 6, 7, 8, it's 10 and a half. Not to exceed 10 and a half, even though we're saying 9.47.
Yeah.
Oh, when you add that in?
Yeah. We can make a change. I'm hesitant too, because this is what they've given us.
I'm hesitant to vote on this until we know, because it is such a large amount of money. And even if we had to call a special, I don't like.
Wasn't there an email that had it all listed? Stefan? From the council, our resources board? What's the name of the person you've been communicating with?
Her name is Courtney. Okay, so here we go. Right. This is from the authority. So this is also the contract. I think this is right where she's pulled this language. There we go. Okay, so we're looking at Exhibit B. Estimated cost of the project, 11 million, maximum principal amount of loan commitment, 6. Upfront principal forgiveness to be applied at closing, 3 million, maximum total principal to be repaid after application of 3 million. So I think they're pulling this directly from the contract.
But even, wait, so 6.
We're talking. It's 12. Okay, here we are, 6. Reduction to 3. So this is the final resolution. Is this the same? It's in our packet. And these came directly from our bond counsel.
But if it's different than what the contract from the authority says.
Okay, so here is, let's see. Where is that bill?
I almost feel like the aggregate principal amount of the leverage, I'm in section, what section? 5 under delegation. 2, B2. The aggregate principal amount of the leverage loan shall not exceed 4.5 million. And the maximum annual repayment, wait, no, where am I? Never mind. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's just the maximum.
Yeah.
After you've paid for 20 years, right? It's a 20-year.
Wondering if this includes interest.
I don't think so, because for the other one, where the interest rate is 1.5%, that says 3 million.
That's what happens when I take a vacation.
I'm trying to find emails where they give us the amount.
I mean, is it possible that you all could talk to the bond council, find that out, and then we have just a special meeting to approve this?
Well, no, actually, not if you make a motion to take.
It's really up to you. So if you want to, I'll be out the rest of this week at a conference, but I can attend virtually.
In my mind, this is a big deal. This is, and I want to make sure, like, I want to know why, if it is 4.5. Why is that, when everything else is saying 3 million for that portion of the grant?
Yeah, well, we may have to extend the meeting.
I don't have answers. I'm writing an email to the bond council now.
Okay, so we can't reconcile the 3,744 versus 4.5 million. Yes, Clerk Bennett.
Procedurally, if I could, I just need you to, as a board, set a special meeting tonight. If we do that, then we don't have to wait the 48 hours because it was done in a public meeting. It gives us time to talk to everybody and then cements that, since it is time sensitive.
So could it be tomorrow then?
No, it has to be at least 24 hours. from
Okay.
Right now. So
Okay.
Friday.
I'm not coming back at 9 o'clock.
No.
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to say that I apologize. I need to drop off. It's lights out in the preteen dorm I'm staying in.
Okay.
But I'm available and in favor of any special meeting.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Good night.
We'll let you know.
I make a motion to have a special meeting on Thursday at 9 a.m. Thursday, 24th at 9 a.m.
9 p.m.
No, we only need 24 hours.
So April 24th at 9 a.m.
Is this room available?
Yes, I'm on the calendar right now.
All right. I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A special meeting at 9 a.m. on Thursday.
And it should be ideally a pretty quick one.
Because it may just need to be edited. The ordinance may just have to be updated to add for the amount. Okay, one last thing that we have is a report from our newest tree board person. Wait, let's do that.
Okay. Tree board emails are set up, tree board external website has been combined into the town website. The chair and vice chair had meetings with the public works director. That's a good story. And the celebration has been moved to May 10th. And subcommittee created Mark and Tom with a selection of trees to plant in the park. Now back to I gotta tell a story about the public works director.
Did you say May 10th?
Yes.
Is Arbor Day on that, it's a Saturday.
Yeah, I committed to the ultimate sin. I said something about combining it with Earth Day, and I think that was, I don't know. Two of them publicly admitted to being tree huggers, but okay. Having said that, there was a disagreement with the public works guys on which trees we planted. And in the end, the board voted to go with the public works guys. So, yeah, I think they need to be involved, just personal thing. So, yeah, I guess that's my report. So that's as fast as I can do it.
So can I just ask, so Arbor Day is gonna be before the next tree board meeting? No, wait a minute. Tree board is the third Tuesday? Yeah. So it'll be before. So are they gonna get out some information on Arbor Day? Do you know?
They're working on it.
Okay.
They formed a committee. Actually, when I went to this meeting, they're setting up a proper meeting. They spent half their time arguing how to do it. So that's just the way it was. But they're really trying to get it right for a public meeting and everything. So I'll give it to you.
Do you have a time for that meeting on the 10th?
Nope. And that's about it, I guess.
Okay.
Oh, the next meeting for the tree board is the 15th. That's a public meeting at 5:15, right? No?
Yes.
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 Go ahead. and-
Oh, I was waiting for the chair to recognize.
Oh, that's right. She's got it.
Sorry. I'm still got
Thank you though, trustee.
my head buried in my calendar.
I just wanted to let you know, they do have full access to us and all of our socials and ways of getting news out. So as soon as we have more information about Arbor Day, we will make sure to blast it as far as we can, so.
Okay.
Great. All right, thank you. Anything else from the tree board?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I think, I don't think we even need a motion.
It's always in order.
Let's adjourn. Thanks, everybody.